Chapter 10, Part 2 of Our Earth Belongs to Us, Outcome and Solutions for the final chapter for Section 1. Protecting our fragile planet Earth's resources through recycling. As mentioned in the previous chapter, with overpopulation of nearly 8 billion plus people and growing rapidly, each household is creating tons of waste household and consumer rubbish yearly, and this consumer rubbish is mainly manufactured through huge industries that are extracting and processing billions of tons of our vulnerable and fragile Earth's resources to turn into all of these different consumer products, such as wood from our forests, crude oil, natural gas, coal, minerals, metals and rare earth metals, etc., all used in the manufacturing process for all of our different consumer products. For instance, for the manufacture of billions of tons of plastics, tin cans, cardboard and paper consumer product packaging for all of our consumer foods and consumer household products, and many different metals and rare earth metals and plastics to manufacture all of our millions of new digital technologies and all new white goods, etc., along with millions of gallons of fuel used to ship to us all of these millions of consumer products all over the world, and fuel for billions of cars, millions of aeroplanes, cargo ships, and construction materials for building our homes and businesses, along with trillions of tons of our Earth's resources to manufacture all of these new renewable energy inventions such as solar panels, wind turbines, biomass and biofuels that we are going to discuss a little later in this chapter. We've now become a consumer society, with each family buying so many different high-tech consumer products, smartphones, laptops, computers, tablets, computer games, video recorders, cameras, dishwashers, fridges, washing machines, hoovers, irons, household chemical products, soaps, shampoos, body creams, washing liquids, cleaning fluids, beauty products, fashion clothes, bags, shoes, along with tons of our family's yearly grocery food items, etc. And each one of these different consumer products have to be manufactured differently and packaged differently, because each single consumer product has to go through its own individual and different manufacturing process that uses billions of tons or gallons of different rare and fragile Earth's resources. For example, millions of trees are cut down daily to make all of our paper and cardboard product packaging, paper and toilet paper products. We have already discussed the implications of deforestation and how cutting down thousands of hectares of our forests and rainforests is seriously increasing toxic carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions entering into our Earth's atmospheric ozone layer and causing all of these different global warming and climate change issues. And we have already discussed how cutting down thousands of hectares of our forests and rainforests is causing agricultural soil degradation, habitat and wildlife species loss, and loss of all new streams and rivers, and loss of our oxygen levels. However, we also have billions of tons of our Earth's metals extracted daily to manufacture tin cans and soft drinks packaging, such as steel, aluminium, bauxite, iron, silicon, copper and coal, even manganese and magnesium, etc. All of these Earth's resources have to go through a manufacturing process For example, the manufacturing process of steel that is used to build all of our new buildings and office blocks, houses and wind turbines and many other steel products has to extract millions of tons of our natural fossil fuel, coal, that is needed to be burnt at very high temperatures in the coking process in order to make millions of tons of steel products daily. To manufacture steel, the air has to be heated to around 1,200 degrees C and is then blown into the furnaces through nozzles that cause the coke to burn. However, in this coking process, coke produces carbon monoxide that reacts with the iron ore as well as the heat to drive off the volatile compounds called pyrolysis. And all of these carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide emissions are all contributing to global warming. This is why steel making is a very serious contributor for the production of all greenhouse gas emissions and therefore all global warming and climate change issues. There are many steel manufacturers who are trying new techniques to reduce carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide emissions. However, steel manufacturers still have a long way to go to invent techniques to reduce these emissions. At the same time, this is still not tackling the enormous problems that we currently face with the daily depletion of millions of tons of our Earth's resources used for the manufacturing process of steel. This is just a very small example of how we manufacture all metal-based products, such as the energy and Earth's resources used in the manufacturing process, for trillions of tin cans manufactured daily, for example, and for all of our drinks and consumer food products, and many other product applications, automotive, aerospace, construction, and the manufacture of cars, aeroplanes, billions of different white goods, and all of our different digital computer equipment, smartphones, laptops, computers, etc., that are seriously depleting many of our metals and rare earth metals. For example, aluminium needs a great deal of energy in the form of fuels, which is coal, to transform bauxite mined from the Earth's crust and processed into aluminium. That requires a similar amount of energy for the manufacturing process as steel, because the first stage of aluminium production is to mine and extract millions of tons of bauxite, a mineral that is processed into alumina or aluminium oxide, A1203. Bauxite is a rather common mineral that is used today as the primary raw material in aluminium production. Bauxite is a clay mineral comprising of various modifications of aluminium hydroxide mixed with iron, silicon, titanium, sulfur, gallium, chromium, vanadium oxides, as well as sulfuric calcium, iron and magnesium carbonates. In other words, your typical bauxite contains almost half of the periodic table, and on average 4 to 5 tons of bauxite are needed to produce 1 ton of aluminium. That's a huge amount of our Earth's resources we are mining and extracting from our vulnerable and fragile Earth each day. But it doesn't stop there, because alumina looks like white powder, and it's processed into aluminium at aluminium smelters that uses electrolytic reduction. And aluminium production requires huge amounts of electricity. and about approximately 15 megawatts of an hour per tonne of output. That's approximately as much as 100 apartment blocks of electricity consumed in 1 month. And this is why aluminium manufacturing is not environmentally friendly, because the manufacture of electricity is produced and generated either through steam turbines using fossil fuels such as coal, natural gas or crude oil, or nuclear, biomass, geothermal or solar thermal energy, or other major electricity generation technologies also include gas turbines, hydro turbines, wind turbines or solar photovoltaics. However, all of the above, in one form or other, depletes billions of tons of our Earth's resources each day, as you will discover shortly. This is why we all need to come together as a global collective team effort to work together to recycle all of our aluminium tin cans, products, all of our white goods, all of our old digital technologies, all of our tons of aluminium consumer products, millions of old cars and car parts, and all other consumer products manufactured and packaged with aluminium. Because if we all began to work together collectively to protect our Earth and all of her resources, we could easily reduce the billions of tons of depleting fragile Earth's resources that we are all extracting daily, and we could all easily reduce our Earth's carbon footprint. This is why it needs a global collective effort for us all to work together so that we all make a huge concerted effort to begin recycling. Because we also have billions of tons of plastic consumer products manufactured daily through a process of a mixture of organic materials such as cellulose, coal, natural gas, salt, and the main material, crude oil. But the manufacturing process for billions of tons of plastics can take many different forms. We will delve into the reasons that natural gas is just as harmful for developing toxic greenhouse gases a little later in this chapter. But we all know that crude oil is one of our dwindling fossil fuels, of which 4% of our world's oil production is used as a feedstock to manufacture all of our plastic consumer product packaging and all plastic consumer products. Approximately 4% is consumed as energy, but in this process of making these plastics, nearly 99% of plastics are manufactured from petrochemicals, in other words crude oil and natural gas, through building ethylene, propylene, butene and other basic plastic building blocks before these blocks are transported to the manufacturers to mould these blocks into billions of these different consumer products and packaging. However, in this process of production and transportation, petrochemical resins pump energy in the form of crude oil in the refining process, and by doing so emits huge amounts of greenhouse gas emissions that are commonly called the cracking of hydrocarbon from petrochemicals into small hydrocarbons that are then suitable for making all of these different plastics. And throughout this chemical process, this releases carbon dioxide and methane into our Earth's atmosphere. This is how approximately 60% of greenhouse gas emissions come from resin production, and 30% come from the manufacturing stage. However, the vast majority of the emissions is from the raw energy required to power the factory plants, raw energy such as crude oil and natural gas. The remaining is the carbon footprint when we dump billions of tons of daily waste consumer plastic rubbish into our landfill sites, roads, waters, streams, rivers and oceans, that also causes suffocation and death to hundreds of wild birds, seabirds, sea turtles, whales, dolphins, seals, fish and many other wild animals that mistake the plastic as a food source. And this is one of the main reasons that scientists are now beginning to discover extinction of many different wild species. But it's not just plastic that causes this pollution, because billions of tons of our waste consumer products, metals, tin cans, paper, cardboard, glass, and all of our different food wastes create toxic greenhouse gases to leak through the tons of waste rubbish found in many of our outdated waste landfill sites. That leaches into the air, further expanding the Earth's atmospheric ozone layer and helping to increase even further global warming and climate change issues. Not to mention all of the diseases and bacteria from these landfill sites, and even air pollutants that occur with incineration in our landfill sites, that expose the stored carbon in the plastics, such as other pollutants such as dioxins, furans, mercury, polychlorinated biphenyls that are toxic to humans and animal health. Biodegradable plastic is one solution. However, if we were to go down the line of manufacturing 100% biodegradable plastics, it would heavily impact our agricultural lands, the millions of hectares of crops to produce corn and starch that we would need to be grown in order to manufacture new biodegradable plastics would counteract the impacts of our carbon footprint, because we would need to cut down millions of hectares of trees in our forests to make way for growing all of these new crops. Therefore, we would be creating even further deforestation in our very important, already depleting forests and rainforests. This is why a great deal of new scientific research into new environmentally friendly, sustainable and ethical solutions to manufacture biodegradable packaging for billions of tons of our daily consumer product packaging needs to become a serious collective global concern, discussed through global dialogue, free from all extreme ego greed for financial profits, so that we begin to gather a team of global scientists to collectively work together to solve these enormous global environmental issues without harming or destroying any further forests or rainforests, or without diminishing any further of these very important rare earth resources. These are the challenges that we all now face collectively today. But it needs an urgent effort for all of us to work together globally to solve these very important, life-changing issues before it's too late. But we can all help today by all of us making a huge effort to recycle all of our daily household and consumer product packaging, all of our old unwanted digital technologies, electrical and white goods, batteries, household furniture, clothes, shoes, consumer product plastics, glass and paper, cardboard, tin cans, and all consumer products that we no longer want or need. And we all need to come together and work together collectively, free from all ego emotions, to all begin to make a huge effort to stop buying all of these different unnecessary consumer products, and also all work together to educate all of our consumer products and packaging manufacturing industries to begin clearly labelling on all of our products and packaging in big bold letters the word recycle, and all work together to collectively set up a brand new collective global earth government that will begin a new global lobbying team to teach new educational programs in all countries, in all schools, all shops, all restaurants, all hotels, all takeaway shops, all supermarkets, all business owners, and all households to spread these very important recycling messages. At the same time, a collective global Earth government begins new research to develop some brand new recycling inventions so that every country around the world makes recycling a profitable commodity. In other words, we all begin to receive small amounts of money, incentives through small rewards in exchange for saving our different recycling consumer products, so that all of our different rare earth metals, plastics, glass, paper, batteries, and all different recycling materials in all countries become a daily recycling routine, a daily mindset, just like the daily routine of brushing our teeth each morning and night. However, we mustn't forget that these concerns are already understood by many millions of incredible people who already take action in many countries all over the world today by volunteering small amounts of their time to separate out every single piece of waste household rubbish and consumer product packaging into different categories and into different recycling bins. And each week the recycled rubbish is picked up by the municipalities and taken to the different plastic, paper, cardboard, metals, tin cans and glass recycling centres. The recycling centres then separate into different categories of waste materials ready to manufacture into some brand new raw materials. This is why many recycling individuals and countries who take time to separate all of their weekly household consumer products and packaging materials are our Earth's unsung heroes, because we mustn't forget that there are nearly 8 billion people on our fragile planet Earth, and each person buys hundreds of different consumer and household products each week. And each year, billions of tons of our different natural Earth resources are extracted from our vulnerable and fragile planet Earth in order to manufacture billions of different consumer products and packaging. This is the reason that currently only a very small amount of our world's consumer products are recycled, and it's currently nowhere near enough to sustain our Earth's resources for the indefinite future, as you will discover shortly. So how is the extraction of many millions of tons of our current mined Earth resources for the purposes of glass manufacturing also causing huge increases in global warming? Glass products are made up of many of our natural Earth ingredients, such as ordinary sand, silicon dioxide, and other Earth's resources such as calcium carbonate, sodium carbonate, and sometimes even iron, chromium, and other different metals, depending on the glass manufacturing production process. However, in order to melt the sand has to be heated to extremely high temperatures, around 1700 degrees C, and as a result, glass furnaces requires enormous amounts of heat energy that mostly comes from a natural gas, methane. And methane is another greenhouse gas that exposes toxic emissions to enter into our Earth's atmosphere, and therefore is contributing greatly to even further global warming and many of our climate change issues all over our world today. This is why recycling billions of tons of all of our glass bottles must become a collective global concern, so that we all work together to recycle all of the tons of our daily global glass household consumer products, including all other businesses, hotels, restaurants, bars, and all food outlets that are using glass products. The same goes for all of the different high-tech digital products, because the manufacturing process needed to create tons of all of our different high-tech digital products requires the mining and extraction of tons of our rare earth metals that are used for the effective working of many of these digital products. But many of these rare earth metals are now beginning to run out. We already have recycling units for many of our different household consumer products in many countries, but currently there is nowhere that we can recycle all of our different old and unwanted high-tech digital equipments, such as our old and unwanted computers, old laptops, old cameras, old tablets, old smartphones, old and unwanted TVs, old washing machines, etc., and all of our old white goods that are no longer working, even digital materials that can be found in our old scrap high-tech cars, have small amounts of rare earth metals, but recycling all of our old unwanted high-tech digital equipments needs to become an urgent concern, because as you will discover in the index, some of these very rare earth metals are so specific that they are irreplaceable commodities used in many of our high-tech equipment today. In other words, there is no substitute that can be used in some of the manufacturing processes of these high-tech digital technologies. This is why it's urgent that we all work together as a global collective to each take the responsibility and all work together to organise some brand new recycling centres for all of our old and unwanted high-tech digital consumer products, so that we make recycling a new routine. For example, we create incentives, small monetary rewards for each person to receive small cash back for recycling any old high-tech digital products taken to new recycling units. The recycling centres would then extract any rare earth metals and any other valuable recycling materials and send them to the high-tech digital manufacturers, so that the manufacturers can buy and manufacture into new digital products. The same can be applied to any other recycling commodities, such as metals, plastics, glass, cardboard and paper products, and all of our tin can consumer products, so that we all have incentives to make recycling a new lifestyle choice for every single one of us. This is why there is profit to be made in recycling. We need to begin recycling everything. All of our old clothes, old shoes, old jewellery, food, packaging, and all consumer products and packaging, old digital technologies, white goods, TVs, cameras, smartphones, the list is endless. We can all begin today to make recycling the next buzzword for a new, clean, green, environmentally friendly, urgently needed, recycled, protected earth. So how can we begin to also urgently recycle tons of our daily food waste, now that many of us are living in big towns and cities, and now that we have huge increases in overpopulation? There are already few enlightened individuals in America that you can find in the index in the section 2 that are beginning to develop solutions to recycle all of our food waste products from our restaurants, hotels and households by using food waste as a source of composting. Because food waste is biodegradable and can be turned into fertiliser and can then be used for intensive farm agricultural soils. Because, as mentioned earlier, many hectares of intensive farmed agricultural soils are now becoming depleted and infertile due to these increased use of gallons of pesticides, insecticides and sometimes herbicides that are sprayed on 90% of intensive farmed crops. There are already thousands of science experts that are making recycling studies to research the effects of unrecycled waste pollution. All of the trash and rubbish that gets distributed onto our roads, our highways, fields, rivers, streams and oceans, etc. Hundreds of scientists that are monitoring the billions of tons of waste, rubbish, pollution, and what effects it is causing for air pollution and greenhouse gases, contributing considerably to increases in global warming. One such study identifies that plastic accounts for 3.8% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and we already have hundreds of marine science experts who are working behind the scenes to discover the effects that billions of tons of our waste consumer plastic pollution, especially microplastics in our oceans, is causing death to hundreds of marine life. This plastic rubbish is not only harmful to all ocean life, the waste rubbish is also finding its way to the bottom of our oceans and creating a layer of non-degradable and toxic pollution that creates new bacteria, causing many new diseases to be formed and many new and waste toxic gases to be distributed into our Earth's atmosphere, another byproduct contributing to this hole in our Earth's atmospheric ozone that is increasing even further all of these global warming issues. Every year, billions of tons of single-use packaging is discarded and makes its way into our oceans from all the consumer goods that fill up our supermarkets and all of our clothing that sheds microfibers from our washing machines. All makes its way into our oceans. This is how our oceans are now being engulfed in plastic. New studies have estimated that there are now 51 trillion pieces of plastic in our world's oceans. In other words, there is now not 1 square mile of ocean that does not contain plastic pollution. This is why global plastic pollution is now an epidemic. Why is it an epidemic? Because first, plastic pollution contributes enormously to global warming, and second, it is not degradable. Instead, it's durable, and therefore it will live in our environment for hundreds of years without degrading. If we had imagination to step back in history, say some 2,000 years ago, many of us would know that we are still discovering many of the legacies that many of our ancestors left behind. The beautiful ancient old stone archaeological relics of temples, homes, amphitheatres, and many ancient places that many of our ancestors used to live and are left behind for us to all enjoy. However, if we now fast forward 2,000 years into the future, what are the 8 billion people today leaving behind as our legacies? I have been very proud and honoured to have met just a few amazing, highly evolved individuals who mostly volunteer their time and hard work to prevent plastic pollution in our oceans and our lands. I have discovered many marine life volunteers, specialists and scientists who have set up different marine and environmental protection projects all over the world today, and who volunteer their time and hard efforts to join together to create small groups, and some even dive into our oceans to remove tons and tons of plastic waste rubbish, even old fishing nets and rubber tyres thrown into the oceans by the local fishermen. And some of these very special volunteers even meet up with the local fishermen in small fishing villages and make small documentaries to teach the fishermen how they can begin to protect the marine and ocean life. And then I have also been proud and honoured to have met other recycling volunteers and voluntary recycling groups who are taking action at the grassroots level without waiting for governments or other monetary aid, but meet up regularly in many different countries to pick up all of the tons of waste rubbish all over our lands, roads and beaches, etc. These incredible individuals volunteer their time and hard efforts without monetary rewards, without praise or recognition. They simply join together and go about the countryside, beaches, roads and agricultural lands to pick up tons of waste rubbish and deposit the rubbish into the waste recycling centres. There are even some individuals who are using recycled waste plastics to reinvent and resell some of these into brand new consumer products. However, there is still a great deal that needs to be urgently addressed by all of us getting involved and all working together as a global collective team effort to find new ways to recycle all of our consumer products. This is why we need now a new team of global recycling science experts to come together and to begin research to find some brand new recycling inventions that can easily recycle all of our cardboard, plastics, glass, metals and all rare earth metals. But this will need a global collective effort for us all to begin and become responsible citizens of our earth, and all join together and work together to help support all of these urgent recycling issues. Also, we could all help and all encourage all of our business owners in our big towns and cities to adopt these same recycling ethics, such as all of us encouraging all of our takeaway food outlets, takeaway coffee shops, etc., to begin advising their customers to bring their own reusable coffee mugs and reusable sandwich boxes with a small monetary reduction as an incentive to take away their food and coffees by inventing reusable coffee cups and plastic sandwich box packaging. In this way, we can begin reducing a great deal of plastic and cardboard consumer product wastage. Tons of plastics and cardboards that we are currently using and that we throw away in our rubbish without recycling. And if the customers decided not to bring their own reusable takeaway food packaging, business owners could ask customers to pay extra money as a recycling contribution, and this small contribution would then be given to support recycling education and recycling organisations. And what about placing recycling bins outside each takeaway food and coffee outlets? And also, what about asking our business owners to pay extra money as a recycling contribution if they did not recycle all of their waste plastics, glass, tin cans and cardboard rubbish, such as all hotels, shops, restaurants, bakeries, all supermarkets, offices, etc. And this small contribution would then be given to support recycling education and recycling organisations globally. These are just a few simple ideas that would greatly reduce tons of waste plastics, glass, metal and cardboard packaging to be added to all of our waste landfill sites, and would also save tons of all new plastics, glass, metals and cardboard products that have to be manufactured into tons of new consumer products daily. Recycling all of our old waste consumer products has to become an urgent part of our daily mindset, just like brushing our teeth each morning and night. Because many of our planet's Earth's resources are now seriously depleting, rapidly. This is why we are now going to briefly discuss how we can all start to become more responsible for the protection of many of these seriously depleting planet Earth's resources. Our fragile planet Earth's resources. Imagine now, just for a moment, that the internal and external structure of our huge fragile planet Earth behaved similarly to the structure of our wonderful fruits, the orange. In other words, imagine that the internal structure of our Earth is full of the fruits and juices that we refer to as nature's very ancient Earth resources, all of the trillions of gallons of crude oil, natural gas, billions of tons of coal, billions of tons of metals, minerals, and many rare earth metals that we continue to extract from our Earth on a regular and daily basis. Most of these rare earth resources have taken billions of years to evolve and cannot be replaced. However, we continue to extract trillions of gallons of crude oil that converts into our fuels to feed billions of cars, lorries, aeroplanes, shipping, cargo ships, energy for electricity, heating our homes, offices, factories, and to manufacture all of our different consumer plastics, etc. The total number of gallons of crude oil that we burn for the entire Earth's energy consumption comes to approximately 3.570,000,000 gallons per day. To help us understand this mind-blowing figure, this could fill approximately 265,000 average-sized swimming pools per day, or the amount of water that flows down the Niagara, that falls in 1 hour, times that by 6 hours. This is the daily global consumption of petroleum usage. However, what is even more unsettling is where crude oil comes from, because geologists have discovered that crude oil began to evolve around the Jurassic period, 180 million years to 140 million years ago, and is found deep within the Earth's crust. Geologists' dating system can measure the relative amount of organic compound, oleanane, in the oil. Oleanane is highly associated with the time when the Earth began to adapt to and evolve thousands of different species of angiosperms, as we discussed in the previous chapter. Angiosperms are the flowering plants that we discussed earlier when we talked about how angiosperms first began to evolve to become the very first flowering plants that allowed the genetic adaptation of our bee populations to begin using nectar as their food source, and in this process, bees first began pollinating all different flowering plants that then germinated to develop into all of these different edible seeds, berries, nuts, fruits and vegetables, etc. Many of these flowering plants produced the derivatives of oleanane, called oleanoids, that are toxic to predators. And because angiosperms became more plentiful as time progressed in our Earth's history, many new genetic adaptations of many new species of flowering plants and some of these younger organic deposits, millions of years old, found deep beneath the structure of our Earth, converted into crude oil. This is why crude oil is likely to contain more angiosperms, because the geological processes involved converts the oleanoids in these angiosperms into oleanane, and therefore the more oleanane found in a given oil sample, the more recent in age it is likely to be. Therefore, geologists can identify the age of a crude oil by the amount of angiosperms found in the oil. This is not a precise and accurate measure, because oils of any age can lack oleanane when flowering plants were not part of the material from which it was formed. However, most geologists found that lack of oleanane in the crude oil gives a significant clue that the oil was formed in the Jurassic or even older period of time, before angiosperms had begun to evolve. We have already discussed the dating of angiosperms and the dating of many different classifications of life here on Earth in the previous chapter. However, some of the world's most well-respected environmental engineers and geologists have predicted that our Earth has less than 50 years' worth of crude oil reserves left. If we continue to consume this rare earth resource at the alarming rate as we currently are consuming today. And we must not forget the most important part of all of this, that crude oil is very ancient. It belongs to our earth. It is part of the internal structure of our earth. Imagine now that we took a straw and pierced a small hole in an orange and stuck the straw in the orange and sucked out through the straw all of the fruits and juices of that orange. Imagine that this was the internal structure of the earth. Imagine what would happen to the earth. All of its natural juices, its crude oil, natural gas, coal reserves would begin to shrivel up and dry out, just like the internal structure of an orange. And once we had sucked out all of these internal juices of the orange, and the orange would empty and become hollow, the external layer or peel of the orange would then begin to slowly dry out and collapse. This is exactly what we are doing to the internal structure of our Earth. Because most countries' fuel reserves today are currently dependent on this rare earth resources, crude oil, along with other natural gas and our coal reserves. However, now that we know that it takes approximately 140 million years to be able to evolve this rare black liquid crude oil, take a few moments to imagine what will happen in 50 years' time once these reserves disappear. This is why money is at the root of all evil, because all of these natural earth resources are currently controlled by individuals whose main concern is extreme ego greed for financial profits. And this is how all petrochemical giants, natural gas giants, mineral industry giants, extracting all of our coal, minerals, metals and rare earth metals, is simply based on extreme ego greed for huge financial profits. This is why we still continue to experience different conflicts and wars with each other, simply because a few individuals' extreme ego greed for financial profits have taken over control in the long-term memory to become a sickness in the long-term memory. This is why we now need to approach all of these very serious dwindling earth resources through a brand new global collective mindset, so that we all work together as a global collective team effort, free from all ego emotions and all extreme ego greed for financial profits, so that we all join together through a brand new collective global earth government and through the help of a brand new team of global energy research scientists to discover solutions for some brand new ethical, green, clean, sustainable and non-depleting energy resources that we can all take advantage of for all people in all countries all over our world for all future generations to come. But this will take time and a great deal of global collective teamwork to make these urgent adaptations before it's too late. Because we mustn't forget that we all need our Earth. Our Earth doesn't need us. Once we destroy our Earth, we destroy ourselves. This is also the reason that many of our current renewable energy solutions, such as solar panels, wind turbines, biomass and biofuels, are just as depleting of the consumption of our Earth's resources as the old methods of energy and fuel consumption, produced through crude oil, natural gas and coal. This is the reason that we are going to explain these reasons a little later on at the end of this chapter. But first, let's discover the extent of consumption of some of other of our vital fossil fuels, coal and natural gas. And let's now take into account the vast amount of years that coal and natural gas has taken to evolve through our Earth's crust. Coal is derived from peat, and peat is produced through several factors, such as the evolution of plant life, climate conditions, warm and wet climates that were warm enough to sustain plant life and wet enough to decompose plant material compressed down over many millions of years. For instance, warm climates produced bituminous coal, broad bands of high concentration of nitrogen and sulfur, and cooler temperatures produced diatrital coal that are the remains of pre-existing coal beds, that are two major eras of coal formation in geological history. The Carboniferous period from 358.9 million years to 298.9 million years ago, and the Permian period approximately 298.9 to 251.9 million years ago of the Paleozoic era. Most bituminous coal in North America and Europe derives from Carboniferous period, and most coals in the Siberia, East Asia and Australia are Permian origin. As you can see, it has taken both these two types of coals a few 100 million years to form, and there is estimated to be 1.1 trillion tonnes of coal reserves left worldwide. This means that there is enough coal to last another 100 years at the current rates of extraction used for energy production today. However, the amount of coal reserves we have left is not the only issue of concern, because most of the coal that we currently still burn to create a fuel and energy source creates large amounts of toxic carbon dioxide emissions that has become one of the main causes of global warming. Because coal plays a vital role in meeting our global energy needs and is critical for infrastructure development, with 38% of the world's electricity and 71% of the world's steel is produced using coal, as we already discussed earlier. We also have the same serious environmental issues to address with the natural reserves of natural gas. Billions of cubic measurements of natural gas that some countries are extracting daily from deep within the Earth's crust, because natural gas is currently converted into an energy, fuel, for instance, for our stoves to cook our foods and to heat our homes, businesses, factories, and is also used in many manufacturing industries. However, more alarming is that natural gas may seem an innocent and seemingly economical and safe, clean method of fueling our homes, but natural gas is a very large contributor towards all of these very serious global warming issues, because the largest component of natural gas is methane, and methane is also one of our main toxic greenhouse gases that is increasing our Earth's atmospheric ozone. Therefore, it is a huge contributor towards all of our current global warming and climate change issues, not to mention that natural gas also contains smaller amounts of non-hydrocarbon gases such as carbon dioxide and water vapour, and we already know that carbon dioxide is also a main contributing factor towards the increases in global warming. Found in a very discreet article not long ago, a gas worker employed in America for 40 years revealed that although his job was to fix many severe and dangerous gas leaks in his state, he also found thousands of different smaller leaks that he didn't fix simply because he didn't have the time and the help. And still, even today, these small leaks are seeping through corroded old pipes in many different gardens and properties. Why was this important? This courageous American gas employee, who spoke out to warn us all, worked only in one small local area in one particular state in America. Therefore, we can only imagine the billions of gas leaks that are entering into our Earth's atmospheric ozone, not just in America, but all over our world today. Then we begin to get a better picture of how the natural gas, methane, is a huge contributing factor towards these very serious global warming and climate change issues, because all of this toxic methane gas is creating an even bigger hole in our Earth's protective ozone layer. But to get a better idea of natural gas consumption, during 2009, America consumed in homes and in places of business 22.8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. That's enough gas to fill Pennsylvania 18 feet high, delivered through natural gas pipelines, mostly delivered through shale gas. Shales are finely grained sedimentary rocks that can be a rich source of petroleum and natural gas that is found in many countries. But why is natural gas a huge contributing towards global warming? Similar to the methods of how crude oil is formed, natural gas is a byproduct of decomposed organic matter that has come from ancient marine organisms deposited and trapped on the sea floor millions of years ago and sealed off in an oxygen-free environment and exposed to increasing heat and pressure so that the organic matter undergoes a thermal breakdown that is converted into hydrocarbons. The lightest of these hydrocarbons exist in a gaseous state, known collectively as natural gas. In its pure form, natural gas is a colourless, odourless gas composed primarily of methane. Methane, the simplest and lightest hydrocarbon, is a highly flammable compound consisting of one carbon atom surrounded by 4 hydrogen atoms. And, as most geologists and science experts will tell you, methane is one of the most deadliest gases. Most natural gas found around the world, especially the larger quantities, for instance, used in America, is retrieved through a pump that moves up and down and lifts a rod in and out of a wellbore, bringing the gas to the surface. However, another technique commonly used today is known as fracking, that creates tiny cracks in the rocks located by natural gas reservoirs. Fracking opens a pathway for the gas to flow to the surface. In 2011, an area near Blackpool in the United Kingdom suspended fracking for natural gas because of the test fracking operations that caused earthquakes of 1.5 to 2.2 magnitude. A subsequent study reported that it was highly probable that the shale gas test drilling triggered these tremors. The extensive use of fracking in America, however, has prompted many environmental concerns because of the huge amounts of water that it needs to be transported to the site and the carcinogenic chemicals that escape while and after drilling, and ends up in the groundwaters, as well as environmentalist concerns that we are still reliant on fossil fuels and not investing instead in research for discovering some brand new renewable energy inventions. These concerns are extremely valid, as you will come to discover shortly. However, the most valid reason for ceasing to extract trillions of cubic feet of natural gas is the release of huge amounts of excess methane into our Earth's atmospheric hole in our ozone. It's not possible that all methane gas ends up trapped in pipes. Fracking causes cracks in the sedimentary rocks, cracks that cannot possibly prevent the large amounts of this methane gas from escaping into our Earth's atmosphere. We are all very ready to blame billions of our gentle and peaceful farm animals for toxic methane gases entering into our Earth's atmosphere. However, we have not yet realised that the main reasons for a large percentage of global warming comes from these toxic greenhouse gases entering into our Earth's atmosphere caused by drilling and fracking for natural gas. But it doesn't stop there, because extracting millions of tons of our Earth's natural minerals, metals and rare earth metals, mined and extracted from our fragile planet Earth daily to convert into new building materials, new cars, aeroplanes, ships, trains and all different kinds of machinery, etc., especially the tons of rare earth metals and minerals such as iron, copper, palladium, used in many of our new digital technologies, such as capacitors or indium found in our smartphones and our computer display screens, etc., and lithium, nickel and cobalt that are the raw materials used to make car batteries for electric cars, etc. This is why all car garage owners and scrap car industries must begin recycling all of our old and unused car batteries, and currently the largest manufacturer of cobalt is in the production of our consumer electronics, such as smartphones, cell phones, laptops, computers, tablets, that are all powered by lithium-ion batteries. However, some car manufacturers are now transitioning away from cobalt, that is a key component in lithium-ion batteries, because of the limited amount of cobalt left as an earth resource, and also that it's becoming very dangerous for workers to mine and extract in countries such as Congo. But while cobalt is found in the lithium-ion batteries used in many electric vehicles today, some manufacturers are beginning to use other battery technologies, such as nickel, iron, aluminium cathodes, or lithium iron phosphate that are actively being developed for new electric cars. A 2013 Yale University study found no potential substitutes for the major uses of a dozen of the vital metals that we use for current manufacturing, such as manganese that we use for making steel. It's irreplaceable and would halt world steel production. Lead is another irreplaceable mineral, currently depleting rapidly, and is the only source used to make billions of fossil fuel car batteries. and other minerals that are much more challenging to extract and in greater demand for manufacturers, such as the rare earth elements neodymium, dysprosium, and terbium, europium, that have become irreplaceable, while demand rises due to increased production of many of our daily products, such as iPhones, smartphones, computer screens, and computer chips, etc. And many of these rare earth metals needed are in global demand for manufacturing of many of our high-tech products. And these earth metals cannot be replaced, leaving these rare earth metals scarce, according to this 2013 Yale study. And according to this study, most manufacturers have found that most substitutes for these rare earth metals are inadequate or don't even exist at all. Other studies examine which metals will be more likely to rise in demand if we continue to see an increase in current renewable energy manufacturing, such as wind turbines, solar and energy storage batteries. Also, powerful magnets that are already in demand used for many of our current technologies, such as wind turbines and electric cars, etc. Extraction in the mining process for these rare earth metals, minerals and other metals means that manufacturers also extract in the mining process radioactive materials and other pollutants that are concentrated in the waste rock and sludge during mining, causing more severe damage to our cells and to our already vulnerable and fragile planet Earth. And yet so far, we have not found any other potential substitutes for many of these dozen or so rare earth metals that we regularly mine and extract for the manufacturing of these new renewable energy devices, and metals which could see a growing market include aluminums, including its key constituent bauxite, cobalt, copper, iron ore, lead, lithium, nickel, manganese, the platinum group of rare earth metals, including cadmium, molybdenum, neodymium, and indium, silver, steel, titanium, and zinc. One particular study reports that maps production and reserve levels of many relevant metals globally, focusing on implications for resource-rich developed countries. However, with respect to a number of these countries, the huge implications for all future environmental impacts have not been assessed with these studies, such as the slash and burn approach throughout our rainforests and all forest areas around the world that many of these mining industries are using to excavate these rare earth metals and other metals and minerals. This is why mining and excavation of all future minerals and metals, including all rare earth metals, not to mention all of our fossil fuels, must now urgently become a responsible global collective concern, free from all individuals whose main concern is simply extreme ego greed for financial profits, so that we all work together, all people in all countries, and all join together so that we all get involved in all future decision making for the protection of our Earth's resources and our Earth. This is why we've no time left to wait for individual governments to make these huge shifts towards the protection of our Earth. We must all work together and all become responsible citizens of our Earth before it's too late. Because our Earth belongs to all of us, it's our home, our collective home, and desperately needs our collective help and protection before it's too late. For example, we could all stop our huge excess of consumer buying and spending on many of our different non-essential high-tech digital products, and we could all also begin to collectively work together to put pressure on our high-tech digital manufacturers to begin inventing products that are sustainable, resilient, reliable, non-faulty, and that have a very long lifespan, so that all of our manufacturers prevent the extraction of our current tons of rare earth metals, minerals and other metals. And we could all collectively work together to encourage our high-tech manufacturers to become more responsible citizens of our earth, so that all of our new high-tech digital products, computers, laptops, tablets, smartphones, cameras, cars, TVs, washing machines, hoovers, etc., are invented and manufactured to last a lifetime, to become sustainable products that can easily be returned to the manufacturers to be updated or repaired whenever necessary. And finally, as mentioned earlier, we must all begin to take responsibility to all recycle all of our old digital technologies and old high-tech consumer products, so that we begin new recycling businesses to provide recycling units for all of our old unwanted high-tech consumer products that we no longer want or need. And in return, these recycling businesses give a small cashback for recycling all of our old digital products that can be stripped down of any rare earth metals and recycled, and this includes all of our waste consumer plastics, glass, tin cans and many other metal material products, etc. And by doing this, we are not waiting for governments to act, but instead we are all individually helping and all taking responsibility and all contributing towards the protection of our very fragile planet Earth and all of these dwindling rare earth resources. Most of us are now fully aware that once some of these rare earth resources become scarce, demands will increase. And this is when a few individuals in a few countries will not hesitate to take advantage of this fact, because we have already mentioned many times throughout this book that a few extreme ego-driven individuals whose extreme ego greed for financial profits will never stop at nothing to make these financial profits from these dwindling rare earth resources. But now that we know that this is going to happen, we need to find new solutions to solve these fractured, separated and outdated behaviours. In other words, we need to be one step ahead of these behaviours so that we find new solutions before these inevitable events happen. This is the reason that we need a new team of collective global scientists, free from all ego emotions and all ego greed for financial profits, that will come together and work together to invent new solutions to solve these very serious environmental issues before it's too late. This is the reason that we urgently need a collective global Earth government that will be run by all people globally, for all people globally, for all countries all over the world today, including some brand new renewable energy resources, because unfortunately the extraction of billions of tons of our different earth resources doesn't stop there, because even our current renewable energy resources, such as solar panels, wind turbines, biomass and biofuels, can also be classed as non-sustainable and non-renewable energy resources, as you are about to discover shortly. Renewable energy resources, solar panels, wind turbines, biomass and biofuels, etc. First, we need to explain what is meant by the term renewable energy, because the sustainable, eco-friendly and ethical term for renewable energy can only be described as the following: harnessing the energy from a source that is not depleted when used, and without harming our Earth's resources, that converts into a new sustainable energy source to be used in our homes, businesses, lighting, heating, cars, or for other such renewable energy and sustainable reasons. However, many of us are currently being greatly misguided because many modern dictionaries deliberately describe the term renewable energy in the following manner: any natural occurring, theoretically inexhaustible source of energy, such as biomass, biofuel, solar, wind turbines that are not derived from fossil or nuclear fuel. But this is where this particular description of renewable energy is greatly misleading, because these new sources of renewable energy, biomass, biofuels, solar and wind turbines, are an inexhaustible source of energy, because they are all depleting our Earth's resources, as you're about to discover shortly, because many of us have been led to believe that biomass, biofuels, solar and wind turbines are sustainable, renewable energy solutions that can be used to give us free electricity and free energy to drive our vehicles, fuel our homes, travel, use for our shipping, air flights and manufacturing, etc. This is a myth encouraged by a few who will remain nameless, whose main concern is extreme ego greed to make huge financial profits through mass manufacture of solar panels, wind turbines, biomass and biofuel inventions. So let's break down some of the reasons why these inventions are not renewable energy inventions and are causing serious exploitation and destruction to our defenceless planet Earth and all of her resources. Solar energy. It's my firm belief that solar energy can be an extremely beneficial and efficient source of free energy. However, only if we can find solutions for sunlight energy to become environmentally viable. In other words, that we find solutions to manufacture solar energy in a way that is far less damaging to our Earth's atmospheric ozone and far less destructive to our Earth's resources, and also far less used in countries that hold very low sunlight levels. And instead, we find a brand new collective global scientific research team to come together and work together, free from all extreme ego greed for financial profits, so that we can begin inventing solutions for free electricity from solar energy to be transported in some way to other countries with some much lower sunlight levels that can be used as an efficient source of energy for heating and lighting all of our homes, for travel and for all of our manufacturing needs, etc. Because currently the costs in the current manufacturing process of solar panels far outweighs all other reasons to call this a clean, green, sustainable, renewable energy resource, for reasons that we are now going to explain. Solar for heating hot water has been used very efficiently in countries with nearly 90% of all year-round high sunlight levels, and for the past 20 years have heated thousands of homes with hot water with this free energy resource using two small solar panels that are approximately 1 metre long by 60 centimetres wide that connects to hot water tanks. And this is when solar can be a very efficient source of free energy that can produce, for instance, over 90% of free energy for heating hot water or even electricity, but only if used in countries that have abundance of nearly all year round high sunlight levels, because these very small solar panels only requires small amounts of manufacturing, because it is the manufacturing process that is extremely environmentally unfriendly. Solar panels can also be manufactured for the purposes of delivering free electricity to our homes and businesses. However, currently, solar manufacturers are having to produce extremely large panels needed to produce very small amounts of free electricity that is used in countries with very low sunlight levels. And this is when the manufacturing processes of solar panels is extremely misleading and cannot possibly be recognised as a clean, green, free, sustainable energy resource, because the manufacturing processes produces very high levels of carbon dioxide and other toxic greenhouse gas emissions. Also, the amount of kilowatt of free energy that most countries with low sunlight levels captures compared to the millions of tons of our Earth's resources that have to be mined and extracted, along with the huge emissions of greenhouse gases that are given off in the manufacturing process, is contributing greatly to extreme global warming and does not in any way compare to any of the benefits of solar energy, especially captured in countries with all year round low sunlight levels. But to weigh up the benefits of manufacturing process of these huge solar panels means that we need new scientific research to prove that this is why solar energy cannot currently be referred to as a sustainable, clean, green, eco-friendly or a free, renewable energy solution, as you will discover shortly. So what is solar energy and how is it manufactured? Solar is photovoltaic PV cells that are mostly made from silicon, or in other words sand, and silicon transforms the sunlight's energy directly into electricity. But to manufacture electricity from solar photovoltaic PV cells takes two key ingredients: tons of natural raw materials, the mineral quartz sand, silicon, that is the main component that comes from natural beach sand, another of our Earth's resources by the way, and millions of tons of fossil fuel, coal, used to heat up the furnaces to extremely high temperatures in order to melt down the sand. Because the sand, silicon, has to be melted down in the furnaces in extremely high temperatures in order to convert into these silicon photovoltaic PV panels, because sand is not pure in its natural state. Therefore, in order to heat up and melt the sand, manufacturers extract and burn in furnaces millions of tons of another of our fossil fuel, coal. And when the coal burns, its carbon combines with oxygen in the air to produce carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the odorless greenhouse gas that seeps into our Earth's atmospheric ozone and can further increase all serious global warming and climate change issues. This is why millions of tons of coal needed to be mined to convert sand into high-grade silicon comes at a very high cost, because it's extremely energy-intensive process, and this is why it cannot be classed as a clean, green, sustainable, renewable energy resource. However, solar would be a clean, green, sustainable, ethical, renewable energy source if we began new research into new solar inventions that would avoid extracting and burning millions of tons of these two key ingredients, quartz sand and coal. This is why solar energy could one day in the future be extremely beneficial as an efficient and free energy source, but only if a collective global scientific research team could find solutions for sunlight energy to be environmentally viable that would protect our Earth's resources and our environment. Also, that solar energy would only be used in countries with approximately 70% of all year-round high sunlight levels, And third, that a brand new collective global scientific research team begins research into some brand new inventive solutions to transport this free solar energy to other countries that have much lower sunlight levels that can be used as an efficient free source of energy for heating, travel, lighting, transportation, etc. in countries all over the world. This is the challenge, and this is why we all need to work together as a global collective, free from all ego emotions and all extreme ego greed for financial profits, so that we begin research into some brand new solar inventions that will be sustainable, clean, green, ethical and eco-friendly, that we can all take advantage of in all countries all over the world, that will protect our Earth's resources and will prevent all future climate and global warming issues, because we mustn't forget that the powerful energy that comes from the sun has enormous potential. And as we briefly already mentioned in earlier chapters, mankind has been already harnessing the energy from the sun for millions of years through this process called photosynthesis to grow all the millions of tons of our edible crops and foods that we all eat today, and all of our trees and plants that all grow all over our earth today. And for millions of years, the great universal law of nature converted the sun's rays of energy, minerals, moisture and carbon dioxide into this photosynthesis that continue to grow all species of wild plants, wild flowers and all of our trees in our forests and rainforests. And this is how trees and many different plants converts this toxic carbon dioxide into oxygen, the very air that we all breathe today. Not to mention that, because all trees and plants can absorb carbon dioxide, they are helping us all by preventing even further global warming, as we have already mentioned earlier. However, without the sun's rays of energy, none of this would have happened, and our Earth would still be in constant darkness, and nothing would have ever adapted to survive our fragile planet Earth. This is the reason that our Earth, that is almost in perfect alignment with the sun, is like winning the lottery. And this is the reason that the sun has all of the potential for us all to take advantage of this free source of energy, if we can all globally and collectively work together to find new inventions and new solutions to exploit this huge free energy source. Because according to some independent scientists, there is more energy from the sun that falls on our Earth in 1 hour than is used by everyone in the world in 1 year. The costs of wind turbines to our environment and our Earth's resources. Wind energy is now viewed as another source of clean, green, renewable energy, used in many countries all over the world today, with many hectares of huge wind turbines found in fields on hillsides that are usually exposed to high winds and that stand together as tall as high-rise buildings, and a sight to experience if we have the chance to stand underneath of one of them. Because the wind's energy turns the huge turbine blades that feeds an electric generator that produces this free source of electricity. However, wind turbines are the only efficient source of free energy in countries that have abundance of high wind exposure. This is why in many countries they are most definitely not a renewable energy solution, because first of all they sit idle most of the time, so that they produce very little free electricity compared to the huge costs to our environment and our Earth's resources needed to manufacture these high turbines, and that far outweigh any of the benefits of calling this a free and sustainable, clean, green source of renewable energy for reasons that we are going to explain shortly. Wind turbines are beginning to spring up all over the Western world, and many other countries where huge wind turbines that sometimes have over 20,000 wind turbines are set in areas with favourable wind production and are owned by several wind energy corporate companies. However, even though there are hundreds of wind farms in many countries, wind energy only accounts for approximately 10% of free energy that converts into this free electricity. So why are wind turbines not a clean, green, ethical, eco-friendly, sustainable, free, renewable energy source? It takes billions of tons of steel to manufacture thousands of tubular towers in order to make these huge wind turbines. And each steel tower manufactured to create a typical wind turbine stands at approximately 80 feet tall and weighs around 19,000 pounds and needs approximately 8.61 tons of steel to manufacture. The inner workings of the wind turbine, called the nacelle, is usually made of fiberglass and contains the shaft and gearbox, the blade pitch, control and the hydraulic system. The generator and electronic control components are mostly made of steel and copper. However, it's the manufacture of the main component, steel, for the wind turbine's tower that contributes hugely towards the extraction and exploitation of millions of tons of our Earth's resources, because this is the bit when it gets not so renewable. Because each wind turbine that lasts only 5 to 10 years needs nearly 9 tons of steel in its manufacturing process. And we have already discussed in earlier chapter how steel is manufactured, but let's remind ourselves. Iron ore is produced and used in steel making during the iron making process. But to make steel, we have to add coke, coal, and small quantities of minerals. The iron ore, coal, and minerals are heated up to very high temperatures in furnaces, and the air is blown into the furnace, causing the coking coal to burn. The coke produces carbon monoxide greenhouse gas that reacts with the iron ore, as well as the heat to melt the iron. Global steel production is dependent on coal, and this is why 70% of the steel produced uses millions of tons of this fossil fuel, coal. Metallurgical coal, or coking coal, is a vital ingredient in the steel making process. The heating process consists of heating coking coal to around 1000 to 1100 degrees Celsius in the absence of oxygen to drive off the volatile compounds called pyrolysis that creates another toxic greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide, but results in hard, porous material, coke. Coke is produced in a coke battery composed of many coke ovens stacked in rows into which coal is loaded. The coking process takes place over a long period of 12 to 36 hours. And once the coal is cooled, it is transferred directly to the blast furnace for use in the steel making. There are 3 main raw materials needed to make steel: iron ore, coke, residues, in other words residues left after heating coal in the absence of air that is generally containing up to 90% carbon, and also limestone or burnt lime. Also, the metal manganese is used in small amounts to remove unwanted oxygen and to control sulfur, which is difficult to remove from steel and forms iron sulfide that makes the steel brittle. Silicon is another element present in steel that increases the strength and toughness. There are several other basic elements that can be found in the commercial steel, but carbon is a very important element in the manufacturing of steel. Steel can be given many different properties by alloying the iron with other metals such as chromium, molybdenum, nickel, aluminium, cobalt, tungsten, vanadium, titanium, and non-metals such as boron and silicon. The world's steel production came to approximately 1.8 billion tonnes of steel in 2018. This is why these huge steel-manufactured wind turbines cannot be classed as a free, sustainable, clean, green, eco-friendly, renewable energy source, because steel making disperses large amounts of carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide into the Earth's atmosphere, some of the main greenhouse gases that contribute hugely to global warming, along with the depletion of millions of tons of our Earth's fragile resources, iron ore, coal, and many different Earth's metals and minerals. Again, this is why wind turbines are such a contentious subject, because millions of extreme ego-driven corporate renewable energy business leaders, even some banks and politicians, are jumping on the renewable energy wind turbine bandwagon, whose main concern is ego greed, simply to gain financial profits through trillion-dollar industry without a thought of weighing up the costs of all global warming devastation and the depletion of billions of tons of our natural Earth's resources. It takes 17,000 wind turbines on wind farms, for example, to produce 3.7 billion kilowatt hours of electricity annually, enough to meet the energy needs of 500,000 homes. But through manufacturing these 17,000 wind turbines, each turbine needs 9 tons of steel to be manufactured. That makes 153,000 tons of steel that needs to go through the coking coal manufacturing process, helping significantly the impacts of all of these very serious global warming and climate change issues. Not to mention all of the tons of our rare earth resources needed to be mined and excavated from our fragile planet Earth. This is why we must all now begin to work together collectively, released from all extreme ego greed for financial profits, through a global collective effort, with every single person getting involved through collective global dialogue to employ a brand new team of global renewable energy science experts to begin inventing some brand new renewable energy inventions, so that all people in all countries can benefit from that our sustainable, clean, green and eco-friendly source of free energy without any further destruction or depletion to any of our fragile planet Earth's resources and our Earth's environment also. For instance, what if we all work together as a global collective to help gather together a new global team of renewable energy research scientists to invent small, sustainable wind-generated household wind turbines that could be attached to our homes, our farms, our office buildings, and all businesses that would generate small amounts of electricity for our homes and business electricity grids that would work whenever there was sufficient high wind power. Because for many years in past history, many countries had small wind turbines fitted to houses and farms. Let's return to this idea and invent a clean, green, sustainable energy source that wouldn't need millions of tons of steel in its manufacturing process, but instead we invented small, user-friendly, sustainable, eco-friendly wind turbines that were made from natural materials, such as hemp fibres or other similar natural fibres. The manufacture of hemp is a fast-growing, high-yield and a very strong plant that doesn't require pesticides or insecticides to grow this crop. Along with these advantages, hemp fibres are biodegradable and can last up to approximately 5 years. And because it's a natural fibre, we will be using very small amounts of fossil fuels in the manufacturing process compared to other synthetic or oil-based fibres. Of course, we would have to regulate the agricultural growing of hemp, because the growing of hemp is also a contentious issue. However, this can be overcome if we found a collective global group of science experts who would work together to research solutions to grow a new species of hemp that had no illegal properties. But this would take a global scientific research team and for all people in all countries to get involved in this global decision making, free from all individuals' ego greed to make financial profits. This is why this would need to become a global initiative through each person in each country working together through global dialogue, because these brand new renewable energy inventions has the potential to begin to protect all of our lives, because as we have already mentioned many times throughout this chapter, once we begin to protect our earth and all of her resources, we also protect the future for all of our lives and for all generations to come. And what about a new global team of science research experts coming together to help invent for us all some brand new solutions to fit small wind turbines made from natural materials such as hemp to power a free source of energy that would generate enough wind to run, for example, a small, lightweight, sustainable, eco-friendly vehicle that would run on new inventions of small, sustainable car batteries, or would be invented small, lightweight vehicles to run on very thin solar panels in countries with high light levels, so that we could all still get around, and instead we transported all of our heavy goods through transport systems such as cargo ships and cargo lorries, even trams in cities, so that we could cut down on the huge amounts of fuel we are consuming individually. Or we began to invent user-friendly, eco-friendly trams in cities and towns, and public transport that became a hop-on, hop-off mode of transport, more accessible and much more frequent, and we all became more responsible and took buses and trains whenever it was possible. This would save huge amounts of fuel that we currently consume individually from all of our individual vehicles today. But this would need a brand new collective global team of renewable energy science experts that would be free from all extreme ego greed to make financial profits. Instead, we would all work together as a global collective team effort to help solve and invent these very urgent renewable energy solutions through global initiatives and global dialogue to begin new renewable energy research studies, so that we could all take advantage of some free, brand new, sustainable, clean, green, ethical and eco-friendly renewable energy inventions. This is why all citizens of our earth must now come together and all work together through a global collective effort to all take responsibility for the protection of our home, our fragile planet Earth, before it's too late. Because the current environmental crisis cannot be more evident because of these new renewable energy inventions, including these next two highly contentious renewable energy inventions that we are now going to briefly discuss: biomass and biofuels. What is biomass? Biomass converts solid biomass material such as wood, garbage, paper, food scraps, animal manure and different crops, and converts this solid biomass material into a gas called biogas, or liquid biofuels such as ethanol that can be then used as a fuel for our cars or many different kinds of agricultural machinery. So why is biomass and biofuel currently a highly contentious method for creating a renewable energy source? First of all, let's discuss how the biomass industry accounts for the majority of wood and wood waste fuel consumption, especially in some large Western countries that now provides 5% biomass fuels of total primary energy used since 2017. Of that 5%, approximately 47% was from biofuels made mainly by ethanol made from corn, sugar, cane and wheat, and 44% fuel from wood and wood-derived biomass. There are many large Western countries that are now supporting biomass and biofuel as a renewable energy solution. So how is the other 44% of wood and wood chips converted into a biomass energy? The wood gasifiers use wood chips or wood as the fuel to produce a combustible gas, wood gas or syngas. The process takes place in a reactor where the wood chips are converted in various downstream stages for use in the thermal power plant. Gas cooling enables heat to be extracted for heating purposes. Once the wood gas is cleaned and cooled, the synthesis wood gas is burnt in an engine that drives a generator to produce the electricity. The generated electricity can be consumed by the plant itself or fed into a public grid. So why is this currently a huge non-renewable energy source and makes only small amounts of electricity? First, as you can imagine, it takes tons and tons of wood and wood chips to produce this small amount of energy. And this means that vast hectares of trees have to be cut down in forests and rainforests in order to transform wood into this byproduct for electricity, that are currently not replaced at the speed that these deforestation and devastation of our forests and rainforests are having, and the biomass industries are cutting down in order to fuel these huge biomass machines. Thousands of hectares of trees in our forests and rainforests are cut down, not to mention the very important impacts that all of our trees in our forests and rainforests have as a carbon capture to help prevent further greenhouse gases from entering into our Earth's atmosphere. This is why biomass machines are defeating the entire object of a clean, green, renewable energy source. We urgently need the protection of all of our trees in our forests and rainforests in order for all of our trees to continue to absorb the huge amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that are currently floating around in our Earth's atmosphere. By cutting down millions of trees in our forests and rainforests in order to provide a solution to fuel these huge, thirsty biomass machines is defeating the object of calling this a renewable energy solution that is currently causing even larger expanses of ozone to appear in our Earth's atmosphere. This is why cutting down millions of trees simply to create wood and wood chips to feed these hungry biomass machines is increasing these very serious global warming and climate change issues. Secondly, there are now many environmental groups that quite rightly argue that it will take decades for the carbon dioxide and other toxic greenhouse gases that are released by burning trees to be recaptured by new trees, because currently biomass burning produces air pollution in the form of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and other volatile organic compounds and pollutants. And this is why destruction from these forest-based industrial biomass projects is now receiving huge criticism for ineffective greenhouse gas mitigation, from a number of environmental organisations. However, these criticisms are currently nowhere near enough to make any significant difference to the huge impacts of this current destruction and deforestation of our forests and rainforests, and what this is going to have on all of our lives in the future. This is why none of us have the time to wait for our governments to do the right thing. We all need to come together and all work together and all take global collective action. We can all begin today through joining small voluntary tree planting groups that you can find in the index in the second half of this book, section 2, a small list of tree planting volunteer groups that are all over the world today that you can research in your own time to find a group in your own country, or if you cannot physically volunteer yourself, you can donate to buy a tree from many of these different non-profit tree planting and reforestation voluntary groups or non-profit organisations. Remember that it's all up to all of us now. We all need to come together and urgently work together on these very serious global environmental and climate crisis issues. However, biomass industries is not the only reason for the destruction of billions of trees in our forests and rainforests. We also have thousands of hectares of trees that are logged to manufacture all of our consumer paper and cardboard packaging products, newspapers, magazines, printing paper, toilet paper, etc. And thousands of hectares of trees are logged and cleared to make way for fracking and for mining our Earth's resources, fossil fuels, metals, rare earth metals and minerals, along with thousands of hectares of trees that are cleared in our forests and rainforests to make way for many new intensive animal and arable crop farming practices, as we mentioned earlier. But we must not also include in this list, and must not forget, thousands of hectares of trees that are cut down in our forests and rainforests to make way for biofuel practices. This is why we are going to discuss these other non-renewable energy resources, biofuels, very shortly. It's quite possible, however, that new inventions for biomass machinery could be used for some brand new future renewable energy inventions that are sustainable, clean, green, eco-friendly, renewable energy solutions that would help clean up huge amounts of waste rubbish and waste toxic greenhouse gases found in our landfill sites. Again, these new renewable energy inventions would mean that we would need to collectively come together and work together through new global initiatives to begin to build a brand new global team of science experts, science research experts, to help invent these new biomass machines, for example, to be placed in our waste landfill sites that would convert our waste rubbish into energy by simple combustion, by co-firing with other fuels or through some intermediate process such as gasification. The energy produced could be electrical power, heat, or both, combined heat and power, or CHP. The advantage of utilising heat, as well as or instead of electrical power, is the marked improvement of conversion efficiency. Electrical generation has a typical efficiency of around 30%, but if heat is used, efficiencies can rise to more than 85%. Biomass wastes can be transformed into clean energy by a variety of technologies, ranging from conventional combustion process to state-of-the-art thermal depolymerization technology. Millions of tons of household wastes are collected in most countries each week and taken to municipal landfill sites. The waste resource in most municipal landfill sites comprise of decaying food waste, paper and plastics, and averages 80% of the total municipal solid waste collected. However, to invent new biomass technologies to become energy efficient, a new global scientific team would need to be employed in order to make sure that all gas emissions are not leaked or exposed into the Earth's atmosphere, instead circulated to create complete energy efficiency. Municipal solid waste can be converted into energy by direct combustion or by natural anaerobic digestion in the engineered landfill sites. At the landfill sites, the gas produced by the natural decomposition of municipal solid waste, approximately 50% methane and 50% carbon dioxide, could be collected from the stored material and scrubbed and cleaned before feeding into internal combustion engines or gas turbines to generate heat and power. The organic fraction of municipal solid waste can be anaerobically stabilized in a high-rate digester to obtain biogas for electricity or steam generation. Also, sewage is a source of biomass energy. Energy can be extracted from sewage using anaerobic digestion to produce biogas. The sewage sludge that remains can be incinerated or undergo pyrolysis to produce more biogas. These are just a few examples of why we need to employ a brand new global team of scientific experts to begin research into these new renewable energy biomass inventions for recycling tons of our daily consumer waste rubbish through the inventing new biomass machines that live at the side of landfill sites that burn millions of tons of our household waste rubbish and that capture all of our greenhouse gases and converts all these gases into energy. In other words, generates electricity, etc. We could even find new inventions to continue circulating biogas to generate huge amounts of electricity for entire cities, etc. These are all thoughts to be considered for all of our future global renewable energy science experts, free from all extreme ego-driven greed simply to make financial profits, but instead to support the protection of our Earth and the global collective protection of all of our lives for all of mankind's future, for all generations to come. Biofuels. Biodiesel and renewable diesel. Ethanol-based biofuels, manufactured mostly from corn, sugarcane and wheat crops, wouldn't be such a contentious method of making these new renewable fuels if biofuel manufacturers were not cutting down and logging thousands of hectares of very important trees in our forest and rainforest to make way for growing thousands of hectares of these new biofuel crops used to manufacture these new biofuel projects. Because corporate biofuel manufacturers need to grow thousands of hectares of corn, sugarcane, wheat and other species of crops that are converted to produce trillions of gallons of plant-based oils called renewable biofuels, such as ethanol, a fuel that is used in millions of cars, lorries, aeroplanes and even shipping transportation in many Western countries today. However, in this process, biofuel manufacturers in many large Western countries are logging thousands of hectares of trees in our forest and rainforest areas, carried out through a slash and burn approach to make way for the production of these plant-based crops, leading to huge increases in carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases seeping into our Earth's atmosphere that would previously be retained by the carbon capture of thousands of hectares of these tree and vegetation roots through the mycorrhiza and fungi that would normally attach themselves to the tree roots and other vegetation. And this is why this slash and burn approach is causing our Earth to heat up and create all of these different global warming and climate change issues throughout our modern world today. And let's not forget also that the destruction caused to all forests and rainforests also causes destruction and death to all wildlife habitats, wild animals, wild plants, and all wild creatures and vegetation, not to mention any possibilities for any future fertile agricultural soils, rivers and streams to develop, even the disappearance of many indigenous communities that have lived in harmony and balance with Earth's nature for thousands of years. However, we haven't quite finished yet, because extreme ego greed of renewable energy corporate industries are now beginning to invest billions of dollars into a new fuel called renewable diesel, a biodiesel fuel that is not blended with petroleum-based diesel, but has derived only from vegetable oils and animal fats. And this is why this new source of renewable diesel is highly inhumane and unethical, because billions of dollars are now being invested to drive this new method of diesel as a new renewable fuel solution. And it's now even recognised as the new future for a so-called green, clean, renewable fuel. So why is renewable diesel such a highly contentious, unethical and inhumane fuel? First of all, renewable diesel is not blended with petroleum-based diesels. Instead, it is manufactured through vegetable oils and animal fats. This means that in order to mass produce and manufacture billions of gallons of renewable diesel, corporate renewable diesel manufacturers need to mass factory farm billions of farm animals or factory farm fish for fish oils grown in fish farms. In other words, in order to manufacture and produce renewable diesel, millions of gallons of animal fats and fish oil fats are mixed with vegetable oils and are then refined to be converted into this modern method of fuel to drive many of our cars, aeroplanes, ships, lorries, etc. This is why these renewable diesel industry leaders no longer consider the lives of our pure, innocent friends, the farm animals, even fish, to be significant or worthy of their life. As we already mentioned, all sentient beings live through their senses, feelings and emotions, even fish, and they all know and feel emotions of fear, pain, hurt, abuse and suffering, just like any human can feel these emotions and feelings. But because all pure, beautiful and innocent, childlike farm animals cannot express themselves through talking and through speech, this doesn't give us corporate renewable diesel industry leaders, whose main concerns are financial profits, the right to bring so much fear, pain and suffering to billions of gentle and harmless farm animals just to create fuel for our humans. We must not forget also that in order for this renewable diesel to be produced, this new fuel also relies on the agricultural crop production of 50% vegetable fats. And this means that thousands of hectares of forests and rainforests are also logged and cleared through this slash and burn approach to grow these new renewable diesel crops. Hydropower. Hydropower is another renewable energy source, but this particular renewable energy relies on the force of water. The water comes from a high point, such as the force of the waterfall that converts the force of the water to turn turbine blades. that generates into free electricity. However, large hydroelectric plants or megadams are considered to be non-renewable energy because it restricts the natural flow of water for many animals that need to access the water, and even sometimes it restricts the natural flow of water for human populations. Nonetheless, small hydroelectric plants don't tend to have the same restricted flow, and therefore they can be more user-friendly. This is why a new global group of renewable energy science experts needs to come together to begin researching new potentials for hydropower to become a new sustainable, clean, green, renewable energy source. For instance, each time we flush our toilets or turn on our household water taps or showers for water, we are creating some kind of flow of water. We could begin a new global group of renewable energy science experts to come together to begin researching new potentials to capture this water energy, such as small turbines that would flow through our water systems, drains, or from our water tanks, even our sewage pipelines, etc. Geothermal heat pumps and solutions. Another good source of nature's renewable energy is geothermal heat pumps that are already heating or cooling some of our houses and other buildings. And although geothermal heat pumps are currently expensive to install, geothermal pays off because geothermal has much less maintenance problems, even after 10 years of use. Because geothermal or geo-exchange pumps are a natural method to exploit the constant temperature of the Earth, found a few feet below the surface of the Earth, and can be taken to cool our homes in summer or warm our homes in winter. And geothermal can also heat our water. It's a new technology taken from a process similar to how the coils at the back of our fridges hold a mini heat pump that removes heat from the interior to keep our foods fresh and cool. Harnessing the heat from our earth is a clean, green energy source, but again needs a great deal of research in order for this to become an efficient and cost-effective renewable energy source for all of our homes. And this is why this is the responsibility that we all must face through us all working together through global collective initiatives and global dialogue, free from all ego behaviours, to find some brand new and cheaper methods of installing geothermal heat pumps into all of our homes. Ocean or tidal wave energy. Ocean or tidal wave energy is still at the early stages of development because the oceans are usually controlled by the moon's gravity. This is why tidal energy is currently harmful to some of our ocean's wildlife, because it works similar to a dam-like structure. In other words, barrages are placed onto the ocean floors, below the surface of the water. But what if a collective global team of science experts could invent netting to be fixed close to these barrages to prevent harm to our ocean wildlife? My heart goes out to all of the millions of people who have suffered because of all of these very unfortunate health, economic and financial restrictions and challenges that many of us have had to face because of this recent, very serious pandemic that has impacted nearly all of our lives in most countries all over the world, including myself. But while many of us were forced to stay in our homes for many months due to these lockdowns, our earth finally had a chance to breathe a huge sigh of relief. Because when these lockdowns began, we all stopped driving all of our trillions of individual cars, and we all stopped flying on thousands of different aeroplanes to all different holiday destinations, and billions of lorry drivers stopped driving lorries on our motorways and roads. This meant that all of the trillions of gallons of crude oil that we normally used and consumed each day to fuel all of these transportation systems ceased to be extracted, drilled, refined and consumed. Our motorways, roads and streets became empty, peaceful and silent, and in many countries people began to witness wildlife wandering around in our traffic-free, peaceful and silent streets in some of our towns and cities. There were many sightings of wild animals, moose, bears, monkeys, foxes, elephants, reindeers, and all different kinds of wildlife, taking the opportunity to feel safe and at peace, knowing that there was no harm or noise pollution and no cars or lorries would run them over on all of our highways and roads. And at one point throughout the lockdowns, crude oil literally became worthless as consumption practically came to a grinding halt. We also saw in most towns and cities during these different lockdowns our shopping and consumer spending habits come to a grinding halt. We stopped buying and spending money on trillions of our different unnecessary consumer product items. This meant that, for a short period of time, our manufacturers ceased the production of billions of our different consumer products that normally would have depleted billions of tons of our vulnerable and fragile Earth's resources, such as crude oil, coal, natural gas, metals, rare earth metals, minerals, not to mention millions of trees in our forests and rainforests, all of our fragile Earth resources that would normally be consumed to manufacture the production of billions of different unnecessary consumer products. This is why, for a very short period of time, our vulnerable and fragile planet Earth received a small respite, a small sigh of relief from her constant exploitation and destruction. And last but most definitely not least, we saw many of us deciding to stop eating meat, worried that we may catch the virus from meat sources. This created a huge slowdown in the slaughtering and suffering of billions of intensive farm animals. These are just a few examples of what happened when all us humans were forced to stop exploiting our Earth just for a very short period of time, not to mention a grinding halt to the wildlife hunting, suffering and death of many different vulnerable wild animals and wild creatures hunted for pleasure of some individuals living in different countries such as China or Africa, etc. This is the reason that the highly intelligent universal law of nature tried to attract our attention. So what are some of these most urgent short-term solutions? Many of these urgent short-term solutions can only be successful if we make two very urgent mindset transformations. First, we need to discover some practical solutions to transform our behaviours so that we all begin to fully develop the we are altruistic emotions and behaviours of the collective consciousness. So why is this necessary? For many years now, I have been connecting to many incredible individuals that I have come to honour and respect, because they all have one thing in common. They are all passionate about the fight for the protection of all vulnerable that belongs to all Earth's nature, in all different capacities. You can research many of these incredible individuals, academics, non-profit organisations and groups, and many other different enlightened individuals that can be found in the index in Chapter 12. Because once all 8 billion plus people fully develop the we are altruistic emotions and behaviours of the collective consciousness, there will be no more suffering on our fragile planet Earth ever again. This is the reason that I refer to these incredible individuals as all of our heroes, because they are not only fighting for the protection of our fragile planet Earth, but by doing so they are fighting for the protection and survival of all of our lives, every single one of us alive today and all future generations to come. That is why we all owe our lives to many of these very special individuals, because we only have one Earth, one life, one chance. Second, and most urgently, we need to create a mandate for our new Earth. Most of these urgent short-term solutions can only be successful if we make 2 very urgent mindset transformations. First, we must make some radical changes to our behaviours so that we all start to work together through the we are altruistic emotions and behaviours of the collective consciousness. In other words, through collective peace, happiness and harmony with each other, free from all of the I am ego behaviours, just like the bee kingdom, so that we all take responsibility to collectively protect our home, our fragile planet Earth, and all vulnerable that belongs to all Earth's nature, and in doing so, we collectively protect all of our lives and the lives for all future generations to come. And second, we begin a collective, global, new Earth government that will remain free from all individuals' extreme ego greed for money behaviours and all other ego behaviours, that will not be a top-down government, but a linear, horizontal government run by all people, for all people, so that each person becomes involved in global dialogues and global initiatives through a global voting system. For instance, the collective New Earth government will teach educational environmental awareness programs in all languages, in all countries, in all schools, and to all businesses, especially all consumer product manufacturing businesses, all households, all offices, all restaurants, all hotels, all travel and transportation businesses, all intensive agricultural farmers, all wood manufacturers, deforestation and mining businesses, fracking and mining for all of our different fragile planet Earth's resources, etc. And all of these educational environmental awareness programs will be translated into all different languages to teach the reasons for the protection of all vulnerable that belongs to all Earth's nature in all different capacities, such as environmental awareness programs that will teach reasons and incentives for the urgent need for us all to join global grassroots tree planting community groups, and reasons and incentives for us all to begin buying organic grown crops and foods, and reasons for and incentives for us all to become organic vegans or organic vegetarians, and reasons and incentives for us all to urgently make recycling a new routine daily practice in all of our homes and businesses, and reasons and incentives for us all to stop all of our unnecessary consumer spending. And the collective global Earth government will instead employ a brand new collective global team of research science experts that will begin new research for new inventions for some brand new recycling machines to begin recycling all of the millions of tons of daily waste consumer product packaging, old metals, tin cans, plastics, glass, paper and cardboard, clothes, shoes, toys, and all obsolete high-tech goods, white goods, old cars, old batteries in all of our obsolete manufactured products globally. And the new collective global New Earth government employs a new team of science experts to begin research for some brand new renewable energy inventions after the year 2025-2026 that we can all take advantage of globally, that will be free from the depletion and destruction of any of our Earth's resources, and that will provide free energy to all people in all countries, and will be clean, green, sustainable, and eco-friendly and ethical, that will provide us all in all countries all over our world with new sources of energy for all of our homes, heating, lighting, and transportation needs. And our collective global New Earth government will provide educational programs to teach all farmers the huge benefits of organic and regenerative farming practices, etc. And the collective global Earth government will provide contact information for all global environmental volunteer non-profit groups and organisations, so that all people can take action at grassroots level and all get involved in all different environmental capacities, such as grassroots tree planting community groups, so that we all begin to take responsibility and all join together to help volunteer small amounts of time to collectively protect all that is vulnerable that belongs to all Earth's nature in all different environmental capacities, as we already mentioned throughout Chapter 10. These are just a few examples of many adaptations that we can all begin to make together if we can start to live through the we are altruistic emotions and behaviours of the collective consciousness, free from all ego behavioural patterns, but instead in collective peace, blissful happiness and harmony with each other, just like the big bee kingdom, for one purpose only, for the collective protection of the human colony's survival, so that we all begin to collectively protect our home, our fragile planet Earth, and in doing so, we collectively protect all of our lives and the lives for all future generations to come, before it's too late. This is when there will be no more suffering on our fragile planet Earth ever again. And we would all also get to know what it feels like to live a life of paradise here on Earth. These are just a very few, of the enormous benefits of our advanced altruistic emotions. But because there are far too many benefits to discuss in this very short prelude, you will have to continue to read the rest of this second half of this book, Section 2, that will now provide you with many of the scientific details and practical solutions for us all to begin our very own brand new personal journey of emotional transformations. However, it's important for us all to remember that the very first level in these brand new emotional adaptations must be to first begin to practice self-love. Because as we already mentioned throughout most of the first half of this book, if we don't have heightened awareness, loving kindness and compassion for our own individual ego emotional wounds and suffering, how on earth can we gain heightened awareness and give unconditional love, loving kindness and compassion towards the suffering of others? This is why unconditional love is an even greater love that has far more healing powers, and that also connects us to forces that most of us are currently unable to. However, all of this can only be achieved through our advanced, highly evolved, we are altruistic emotions and behaviours of the collective consciousness.